Freestyle Travel. Hey everybody, this is the Freestyle Travel Show. I'm your host, Kenny Flannery, and in this particular episode, I'm going to talk about stealth camping a little bit more. I have an episode, if you want to dig back, about places to stay in general when you're traveling, and I pretty much run the gamut. Everything from couch surfing, just one of my favorites, to, I include like trust routes and all the other hospitality sites in that comment. Staying with friends, even hostels, hotels, stealth camping, I mentioned in that episode. Meeting people at bars or hitchhiking and find a place to stay that way. A whole bunch of stuff. I get into a bunch of it, but this episode, someone was asking me about it. So I wanted to kind of focus a little bit more, just like kind of digging in the whole stealth camping. You might call it urban camping or whatever you want to say. Just basically camping for free in places that aren't really necessarily campsites or anything, in and around cities, that kind of thing. So that's what I'll be talking about here. But before that, just as always, just catch up on my recent travels. Last episode, I pretty much took you with me hitchhiking from Reno to New York City. That was a good one. If you want to listen to that one, there's a bunch of cool things all along the way. Friends and train hoppers who picked me up, and people smoking meth, tattooing each other, and dropping acid in Nevada. Normal stuff. Kind of fun stuff. I don't know. It was a good time. But I got to New York City. Things, not crazy on the travel front. New York City's kind of my home city. I grew up about an hour outside of there. I moved around a lot when I was growing up, but I was always kind of within an hour of the city for the most part. So I'm thinking of going to maybe South America or something soon. I don't really know. I'm thinking of leaving the country though, maybe for a while. So I had already been kind of planning on trying to drop in New York before I leave the country. So that's what I did. I caught up with friends, caught up with family just outside of the city. I had a good time. My good friend Mark, I did a episode with him once. If you want to listen to that one, that's a good one. And I stayed with my friend Nick too. He's in the industry a little bit, like working on a TV show at the moment. He swore me to secrecy about going on set, so I'm not supposed to talk about that. But it was kind of fun just seeing what he's doing there as a location guy. And had a good time in the city, just hitting all the spots, familiar spots, trying to see some new things, familiar friends, new friends, old friends I haven't seen since high school. And that's what I did next. So the goal from New York was to get to Mississippi. That's where I am now. I'm working on the Vivipack situation once again. This would be a good time to mention Megabus. I brought that up like I'm going to talk like they're a sponsor. If you're listening to Megabus, I would allow you to be a sponsor. But for now, I'm just going to talk about you for free. Now, Megabus is like this bus. They're in the U.S. They're also in Europe too. But if you get tickets like way ahead of time, you get them for like $1. And if you ever see the bus rolling along, it's like this double-decker bus, blue and yellow colors, and it says like $1 buses or $1 tickets. And you're not getting a $1 ticket all the time. But if you book it ahead of time or just get lucky on some of the shorter routes especially, you might get the dollars short notice. But I kind of had a feeling I was going to wind up in New York, and I had a feeling I'd want to get down here to Mississippi again. People are really wanting bivy packs. So I wanted, the backpack I designed turns into a tent. So I was like, I knew I wanted to get back down here to make some more of them, just to have them available for people who wanted them. So I got a bunch of Megabus tickets for like less than $10. I got all these tickets, and I'm only using half of them. So the first one was to Philly. I spent a couple days in Philly just catching up with an old high school friend. The next one got me to DC, and I was only in DC overnight for like 4 hours. That was kind of lame because I was just in the station. Nothing was open. But hopped on the bus there, got to Atlanta. I was in Atlanta for like an hour, just long enough to get a beer. Hopped on another one. I was in Mobile, Alabama. And in Mobile, I got there like 3:45 in the morning. Take a sip of beer here. So that last little bit I had to hitchhike. It's like an hour drive from Mobile to Biloxi. So 3:45 in the morning, it's still dark. So I was walking for probably like 2 or maybe even 3 hours before I finally got a ride. I got a short ride. Got me to a truck stop though. Popped in there real quick. Went to the on-ramp. There's another hitchhiker there. Cool dude. He was basically going to Biloxi too. So I gave him a pack of cigarettes that someone else had given me earlier because I don't smoke cigarettes, but they gave me the cigarettes as a decoy because they also gave me a few joints, so they like just stash them in there. So I just gave him that box with like 1 or 2 of the joints in there or something, and kept walking. Went to the highway, and I got a ride from a dude going to New Orleans. So he dropped me off in Biloxi, and well, here I am. So been here, been sewing some of the bivy packs for some people. Gonna have some others ready for people who just want them. If you want to go to freestyletravelgear.com, you can see if they're available. If they're not in stock when you hear this, then you can just sign up on the main page. There's like you pop in your email address and you sign up for updates basically. It's not like I'm spamming people. Like the next update is just gonna be like, they're here. Like you can get one. So I'm not just randomly blasting emails to people. So yeah, check that out if you're interested in a bivy pack. I'm not going to make a ton of them. So if you see that they're there and you want one, I suggest you pull the trigger because I've got a feeling that I'm going to make a bunch and then I'm going to leave. And it's probably going to be a while before I set stuff up a little more permanently. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm just playing with a few ideas. I'm also going to I've got a totally new redesign that I'm going to make for myself. I don't know if it's going to work out, but that's what I do. I screw around and I test stuff. And yeah, I'm excited about that, to have a new thing. And if it doesn't work great, it'll still be good enough, I'm sure. So yeah, that's what I'm here doing now. Back with my friends in Mississippi. Just going to enjoy it here for a little bit. I'm not like as kind of stressed as I was the last time, because the last time I was here, I kind of was obligated to make a bunch of them, several dozen. They're all paid for and people are waiting for them. And this time around, I don't have that obligation, so it's a little more chill. Getting some other stuff done while I'm here too, and pretty much just plotting what my next move is going to be. I can talk about that later. Yeah. Happy days. We're all caught up. So let me transition here and just start talking stealth camping. Stealth camping, indeed. So, as I was saying earlier, when I'm talking stealth camping, I'm talking about camping in places, sleeping in places where you really maybe shouldn't be, or it's not expected that you would be. So this could be around a city, or you're hitchhiking somewhere and you haven't quite made it, and just finding places to camp. So I did mention my bivy pack earlier. If you don't know what the bivy pack is, you can go back and listen to a whole episode where I describe what it is. But it's just a backpack that turns into a bivy sack, which is like a super small tent, pretty much, which is what I would recommend. I don't necessarily recommend the bivy pack. I mean, I do. It's my, creation, so grab one. But a bivy sack in general is, if you don't know, it's just like the most basic version is just like a waterproof sack that goes over your sleeping bag. Just picture a really thin sleeping bag that's waterproof material. That'd be the most basic one. Better ones will have like some poles at the head, so you at least aren't feeling claustrophobic, that kind of thing. But when it comes to stealth camping, I think it's the best thing because it's really low profile. You're not going to be seen. Obviously, you want to get as hidden as possible, but sometimes you can't get super hidden. And the more low profile you can be, the more options you open up when you're stealth camping. So let's start with maybe like the easiest situation. So the easiest situation when you're stealth camping is, say you're hitchhiking or just near a highway. A lot of highways have woods around them, especially the on-ramps. Not right in a city. Not most cities. Like, you're not going to see this in Los Angeles, Chicago, New York, for example. But like right outside of cities, or sometimes even in them, but by the highway, it'll be wooded, like lots of trees and whatnot. So sometimes it'll be, there's the main highway and there's the on-ramp coming into the highway, and there's that little triangle of space in between. Sometimes that area will be wooded, and if not, sometimes right along the side of the highway will be wooded, because there's usually fences and things, or big walls in some cases. So right there, that's the first thing you'll check. And sometimes you're just good to go. Like especially around the eastern part of the United States, you'll see it a lot. Also up by like Colorado, it gets a little trickier out west in the desert kind of area, which I'll get to. But out east, it tends to be a little bit easier. And there you go. You just crawl into that space, 10 feet, like 40 feet, however far, until you think you're kind of hidden. And you set up shop. Like I said, having a bivvy is much easier. So I've traveled with, thinking of this one girl in particular, we traveled and she had a 2-person tent. And that made things a lot trickier, because it's kind of harder to hide a tent. So sometimes you're strapped for space. So if you're in a city, it does get trickier if you don't have these wooded areas by the highway and whatnot. You can still, if you have just a bivvy, sometimes you can get by on like these itty bitty little spots. Like just walk down a side road and then there's a slightly wooded area. It might only be like 15 feet by 15 feet, but if you can get in there and lay down, you're good. But with a tent, geez, you need to find flat ground and enough space and have no one see you. It's a little bit trickier. So this brings me to one of my main tricks if you have a phone with you or some way to get online is Google Maps. So if there's not an immediately obvious spot somewhere nearby, then I'll get on Google Maps and I'll switch to satellite view and I'll just check that way to see if there's like a green area or a field or a clearing or something within like a mile or two of me. Sometimes more, sometimes you get screwed and you got to walk 4 or 5 miles or more to find a spot, but hopefully, and most of the time, you can find something. Like maybe there's a park nearby, like, you're not going to camp in the park unless you're, kind of ballsy and know that you'll get up early before people start walking around. But even like in a regular park, if there's hiking trail, they're just trails, you can walk down one of those trails and jump into the woods a few feet, 10 feet, 20 feet, whatever, and camp there. That's a good move. So that Google Maps thing has helped me out a bunch. And don't just look at the satellite view, but also cross-reference it with Street View. So Street View on Google Maps, that lets you... Google has these cars that drive around everywhere, all over the world, with these 3D cameras, and it shows you what it looks like as if you're in a car. That's a good move, because sometimes I've looked on satellite view and I've seen like, oh, there's a bunch of woods right here, right off the road, and then I walk like a mile or two and I get to the spot and then it's like super steep, or there's a fence there. Something like that makes what looked like a big wooded area actually like uncampable. But if you were to look on Street View, you'd see like, oh, it's a huge embankment. Obviously, a bird's eye view, it looks like just a wooded area, but when you get there, you're like, oh, it's like impossible. It's like a big cliff almost, or yeah, there's a huge fence that you can't hop over, that kind of thing. So definitely check with a Street View too. Also, just so many things to mention here. Bridges as well. Overpasses, underpasses. If you're walking down a highway or anywhere where there's a bridge, say you're walking under just like an overpass, like a road that passes over the highway right where the exits are. If you walk under those bridges, sometimes it slants up to your right, and then a lot of times right where it hits the road underneath, it's flat, and you can get up there and in a pinch you can do that, and that's pretty good if it's like raining and your gear is not too waterproof, or you just want to be comfortably out of the rain. And you can usually be fairly hidden. Just a general tip, no matter where you camp and what you do, just keep in mind that just because it's dark right now and it's easy for you to like kind of get hidden and set up in the dark, always think about what it might possibly look like when it's light. When it gets bright outside, because just because you can easily tuck away and be hidden in the dark, just consider what it might be like when it's bright, because you don't want to wake up and realize, oh, I'm totally exposed. And I should say I've never been caught, I guess, or really dealt with by police, not in these sort of situations. I don't think ever. One time I was couch surfing with a guy, and he was divorced, and he had his kids over, and he's like, if you wouldn't mind like sleeping on the trampoline outside, he's like, I don't mean to be weird, but like, if the ex-wife does show up tomorrow and she sees you're here, I don't want to explain couch surfing and the whole thing. The kids are here. And I was like, yeah, it's no worries. I grew up with a trampoline. Like, that sounds pretty nice. So I slept on this guy's trampoline, and in the morning I was woken up by police. Because it turns out the trampoline was actually his neighbor's trampoline. And his neighbor looked outside and saw me on it, and rather than like being a regular person and being like, hey, what are you doing? Or just doing nothing, because who the hell cares? He just went straight to calling the police. It worked out. It was fine. I didn't get, like, nothing happened. He just looked like an idiot for calling the police. But, that's the only sort of time, but that was not exactly stealth camping. But yeah, it was obnoxious. Taking a sip of beer on that thought. Deserts are a lot tougher. Sometimes you just gotta walk for a while. And in this area of stealth camping, I gotta throw truck stops in there, because it's not exactly camping, but if you're near a truck stop, a lot of them, the bigger ones, will have a trucker lounge, and it's really a place for drivers to kind of just like hang out, because a lot of these truck stops will have showers and obviously bathrooms and stuff like that, but a lot of them will have these kind of big rooms with TVs and stuff, if not a big TV. Some of them are almost like really, really, really small movie theaters. Like, they're set up like that. So you can go into those rooms, put your bag down, and just fall asleep watching the TV. Like, I've heard of people, and I've had some friends who've actually like laid out their gear and laid down all the way. I wouldn't risk that, because that's just a red flag. Like, that just gives someone a chance to be a dick and be like, this guy's just sleeping here. Kick him out. So I usually just nod out. So that's a good option when there's nowhere else to camp. It's just that's the problem with desert. It's harder to hide out. So if you can't find a bridge or a little, dried up riverbed or something, which is not super smart if you're worried about flash floods, but if you're not, it's a good idea. If you can't find anything else, a little truck stop like that is okay. I've never done this, but also you can get on the roof of some places, and some of these things I'm saying are, may or may not be legal, so whatever, look into that disclaimer. You'll figure that out on your own. And in that category, a couple other things I have not done, but I have friends who've done, other people I've met. Apparently you could try to go into like a department store and sleep in those circular racks of clothing. Yeah, give it a shot. Like, just crawl in there and pass out as long as no one sees you go in there. Get up the next day when they open up again. You can give it a shot. I've heard people do it. It's never come to that for me. Also, kind of in this category, stealth camping. Sometimes it's harder to camp. Sometimes it is like, and this is mostly in city situations where it's more of just like a stay up situation, like get through the night, get to the next day. And this is usually when you're hitchhiking somewhere, you get stuck. Like, I don't know. There's always the public transit trick, and that's just in like a bigger city like New York is a great example. You could easily get away with this, where you just hop on a subway and you just ride that subway line back and forth, like from Coney Island to Astoria, hour and a half each way, back and forth, just nodding out, trying to get as many Z's as you can, holding on to your backpack tight, just hoping no one fishes around in it if they see you sleeping. But yeah, had to do that before. Not in New York. Well, I've done it in New York, but that's before I was traveling. It's just because it was late. Freaking just passed out. Got all the way to Astoria without knowing it and went back. My friend was notorious for that. He went back and forth from Astoria to Coney Island twice one night. It's like crazy. But yeah, then there's the 24-hour diner thing. So you can it's like, Denny's, IHOP, even truck stops where you just get a booth, whatever, and just keep getting unlimited coffee. A lot of those diners, like, you pay $1 or $2 or whatever, and they'll just keep filling up that coffee forever. So you just stay there. Maybe you catch some Z's a little bit. Or maybe you just grind out the night until it gets light again. And then as soon as it gets light, that's actually a great move at a truck stop if you can do it. I mean, it sucks to not get the proper sleep that you need, but when you're grinding it out like that and you're just staying up, as soon as the sun comes up, you're eager to get out there. So you'll be on that on-ramp at a busy truck stop at 5, 6 in the morning, right when all those get to it truckers are getting on the road. So you got a good chance of getting a good early ride and just making a ton of miles that day if you're just sun up to sundown. That's how you get across the country in 3-4 days. No problem. Yeah, so I've done that move quite a bit. And the benefit of that, too, is when you're hanging around there, pick your spots, but use your backpack as a prop almost. Leave it out. If you have a sign, it depends how, get a vibe on the people there. But if your backpack's there, people know what you're doing. While you're waiting, grinding out the night, there might even be a truck driver or just someone else who comes in, sees your backpack, strikes up a conversation. Where are you going? Next thing you know, you have a ride. Yeah, that's pretty sweet. Just from sitting there. So I've had that happen quite a few times. And if you do have a sign, just kind of leave it. I mean, you could present it, mount it, or you can just kind of casually hang it on there. You don't necessarily have to put it up on a pedestal, your sign that says Tucson or wherever the hell you're going. If it's there, people will see it. So it's a good move. Yeah, stealth camping is it's not that difficult most of the time. When it is tricky, it is, to be honest, it can kind of suck sometimes. It's usually when you're in a city and it's just damn it, you get on Google Maps and it's just nothing, and you're scanning. I've been on there where I'm just looking and zooming in on all the bittiest little patches of bushes and grass and street view, and then it's just nope, that's not an option. Crap. Sometimes it looks like you're gonna have to walk 6 miles just to get to a good spot, and sometimes you do have to walk that 6 miles, an hour and a half, 2 hours, just to find a place to sleep. But that's why I'd also if you sort of know where you're going ahead of time and it might not be an option, I'll do it. If it's a destination that I have and I don't know anyone there and I haven't found a couch surfer, but I know I might end up there, I'll go ahead and do that research ahead of time and just sort of mark on the map the places that look good that I might camp. That way when you get there and you still have a ride and someone's oh yeah, I can drop you off here, or they kind of give you a little bit of leeway. They're I can drop you off almost wherever. Get dropped off near one of those spots that you can kind of camp in. I'll do that a bunch in those situations. Obviously, if I know where I'm going more than 2, 3, 4 days ahead of time, I'll try to get on couch surfing and find someone that way. But there's plenty of times where I don't know where I'm going until the day before, or I get on couch surfing and no one looks interesting or no one's available, and so I'll mark some of those spots. So let's sip a beer. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much what it comes down to. Gear wise, I'll just touch on this again. A bivvy, I think, is just the best. Like, stealthiness and just ease of setup. You just throw it down and hop in and you're good. It's not like a tarp that you got to string up. Not that that's a huge deal. It's definitely an option, a tarp. If it's not raining, who cares? Just lay down. But yeah, a tent is kind of usually more of an ordeal to set up and a little more exposed, and you need a bigger footprint. Because I've been in spots where it's like I barely have enough room to lay down. It's just thick woods, or it's thorny, or there's roots everywhere, and it's nice to just have the low footprint of the bivvy, and also know, like, if it does rain, I'm still good. It was definitely harder traveling with a little tent. So that's my main recommendation, is a bivvy. So I think that covers the most of it. Yeah, not a super long explanation, because it's simple and it's not. I guess once you hear it, it's like, yeah, I guess that's not too hard, but it's really not that much to it. Alright, hope that was helpful to some of y'all. It was short and sweet, pretty simple, really. It's definitely a staple of the way I live, stealth camping. I'm doing it quite a bit, all the time. Every once in a while. Sometimes I'll stealth camp for 7, 8, 9, 10 days in a row. Sometimes I'll go a whole month where I'm just like staying with people, and just doesn't come up. But yeah, quite a bit. I've camped in a lot of weird places. So, but overall, the strategy of finding it is pretty simple, and you kind of get an eye for it. So hope that was helpful for y'all. Yeah, like I said, I'm just in Mississippi now, working on this whole bivvy pack thing. Y'all know where to go. Freestyle Travel Gear. If you're interested in the bivvy pack, I cannot guarantee that you'll be able to get one, but yeah, you might as well give it a look if you want to. And like I said, if you see it and it says it's in stock and you do want it, I suggest getting it right away, because I might make as few as a few. So if they're there, they won't be there for long. I know that for sure. Yeah, and my next move, I don't know. I'm definitely going to try to bang in and out of New Orleans once or twice while I'm down here. Kind of thinking about Mexico, Central America, South America. That's where my head's at, but I'm just kind of winging it. I'm excited to make my new experimental bivvy pack. I'm still working out the details on that. I got a pretty clear picture of what I want to do. Sort of totally different, but also obviously the same concept. Once I get it going, I'll probably post about it, let you all know. So that's it for now. Hope you guys are all having good times, traveling well, or just hanging out, doing your thing, whatever it is. Good times all around. Alright, you guys. Until next time, we'll see you down the road. With all my shit straight, I'll get my big brain.